Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sinéad Aherne. Today's top stories. A Sinn Féin TD says around half of the COVID-19 cases in Waterford over the last week are connected to one workplace. Waterford now has the fourth highest incidence rate of the virus in the country. Councillors in Waterford are meeting to decide the local rate of property tax for the year ahead. And in sport, the Waterford FC coach says last night's loss to Shamrock Rovers is a learning experience. A Waterford TD is hopeful that we can remain at level 2 COVID-19 restrictions. There are fears that Waterford could be moved up a level due to the increase in cases here. 109 cases were confirmed in Waterford over the last 2 weeks, which brings the 14-day incidence rate to 93.8. Sinn Féin's David Cullinan met with Dr Ronan Glynn this morning.
So the message from the Chief Medical Officer seems to be we're not in a situation at this point where we will automatically go up a level. It is within our control to wrestle this back. We have to get the basics right. And if we do that, we can avoid that situation. But it will very much depend on what happens over the next number of days. And the trend, at least, seems to be there has been a slight decrease. And if it continues in that direction, obviously I would be hopeful that we can avoid going up a level.
He says more information is needed about the outbreaks in Waterford.
It would seem up to 65 cases over the last week. About half of those or more are directly related to this workplace outbreak. I have said to him that we need to get more information from the public health team on the ground. He has committed to giving a note to all our Oireachtas members in Waterford over the next number of days to outline exactly what the situation is, what's happening within that workplace at the moment. Infection control teams being on the ground, what level of precautions and interventions have taken place in relation to testing and so on.
Waterford has the fourth highest incidence rate in the country. Louth has now registered a rate of 101.9 as of midnight last night, while Donegal has risen sharply from 72.9 on Friday to 96.7. Waterford's rates went from 85.2 to 93.8 in the same period. Chief Clinical Officer with the HSE, Dr Colm Henry, admits they are worried about community transmission.
Contrary again to where people think we don't react to today's figures, patterns somewhat different, but still that worryingly escalating level of community transmission. And that's to say, cases out there in the streets that we can't link to any known chain of transmission. That's the biggest threat to schools, not the other way around. Schools are no threat to the community.
It's claimed a discovery at an English university could be a game changer when it comes to tackling the coronavirus. Scientists at the University of Bristol say the development of a new drug could prevent COVID-19 from infecting human cells. The aim would be to prevent the virus replicating in humans. Imre Berger, Professor of Biochemistry, says if it was successful, it would stop the virus spreading to other parts of the body.
If we would catch these viruses, these first viruses which are coming then out of the cells which were initially infected, and could lock them down in a way that they can no longer infect other cells or go down into the lungs and do all this damage, then we would have won the game.
We have to be very real about the situation we're operating in. That's according to one Waterford publican who made the decision to open her pub in Waterford City yesterday. Claire Lalvani is the owner of Thomas Myers pub on O'Connell Street. She says if the doors close again, it won't be anything like the 6 months they've had to spend shut.
We have to be very real about the situation that we're all opening and operating in. All that we can do is follow the guidelines and, do everything to the guidelines. Ensure to our customers that we are creating an environment that is safe to come in and that we will continue to ensure that it's safe. But also, if incidences rise, we may have to close the doors again. But I do not feel that we would be closing them for 6 months again. I do feel that if they close again, it's going to be these boutique lockdowns, as we say, the 3 weeks, and then we're able to open up again.
The cuts to the COVID pandemic payment have been described as a betrayal of thousands of workers. Payments arriving to people today will be lower in many cases after a new tiered system was brought in. People will get either €300, €250 or €203 a week based on what they earned before losing their jobs. People Before Profit's Richard Boyd Barrett believes there shouldn't have been any cut of the €350 a week initial payment.
The decision to move ahead with the cuts in the pandemic unemployment payment, given the rising levels of infection and the new restrictions that are being imposed, we believe represent an absolutely unjust and dangerous betrayal of thousands and thousands of workers.
A Fianna Fáil councillor says he can't see the council agreeing to a 15% rise in the local property tax. The chief executive of the local authority will address councillors this afternoon in Dungarvan, seeking an increase in the household tax. The council's facing a budget deficit of €2.2 million this year. Tom Cronin says 15% is too high.
I don't think the councils are going to agree with the 15%. I can't see at this moment whether it's 2% or 3% or no percent or even a reduction. I can't. And the simple reason why I can't tell you that is because we have to sit down with Fine Gael, and we also have 3 independents. And, you know, whatever decision is taken between the 3 independents, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil.
Plans to start charging households for using too much water have been postponed indefinitely. Irish Water had initially planned to start billing customers next year, but this was later pushed back to 2022, as Casey O'Riordan reports.
This year, Irish Water was to begin advising people if they were using too much water. Households would then have the chance to repair leaks or reduce consumption before bills for excess use started to arrive in 2022. Households with up to 4 residents will be allowed 213,000 litres per year. Anything above that will cost the bill payer €1.85 per 1,000 litres. While the utility doesn't explain why the charge has been further delayed, People Before Profit TD Breed Smith thinks the timing is significant.
The government know that would be hugely unpopular to impose that at this particular time when people's incomes are reduced and when they're struggling.
Environmental journalist John Gibbons says the delay is bad news.
We're already having hosepipe bans and major water shortages on the East Coast. If Irish Water haven't got some way of actually regulating the amount of water that people use on the East Coast, we're going to have really, really chronic water shortages.
In a statement, Irish Water now says it's still working with the government and the Commission for the Regulation of Utilities on rolling out the charge, and no date has been agreed.
A Waterford hairdresser fears there'll be a shortage of newly qualified stylists in 2 years' time. Danielle Kennedy is president of the Irish Hairdressers Federation. They're calling for the VAT rate to be reduced in the upcoming budget and for a flat rate subsidy for trainee hairdressers. Danielle Kennedy says changes introduced last year are costing salons up to €5,000 in additional wages for each trainee.
Your average salon would easily have 3 trainees in the salon, so that's a significant increase in costs. And then you have the cost of training your trainees as well, which is a couple of hours a week. You need to provide a trainer or pay one of your senior stylists to train that team member. So it's a huge ongoing cost over a 3 to 4 year period. And we just have a real worry that there's going to be a huge skills shortage in the industry in 2 to 3 years' time, because there aren't going to be your fully qualified stylists new coming through into the industry as what there normally would be.
A new study of the south coast of Ireland will assess the impact of marine traffic on whales. The research will monitor the acoustics of large whales in the aim of preventing ships from hitting or disturbing the mammals. The south coast is one of the busiest heavy vessel shipping lanes in the world. It's also an important resting and reproductive habitat for 25 species of whales, dolphins and porpoise.
Sports News on WLR.
With Virgin Media Waterford. Want super fast broadband today? Drop into Virgin Media George's Street and take it home with you. Easy as that.
Starting with soccer, where Shamrock Rovers have gone 8 points clear at the top of the SSE Electricity table after they beat Waterford 6-1 at the Tallaght Stadium last night. The Blues started well but conceded 3 goals at the end of the first half and a further 2 in the second half before a consolation goal came for Waterford's Michael O'Connor. In the final minute of the game, Rovers added a 6th when Byrne burst through the middle and slid the ball through to substitute Dean Williams, who scored his first goal of the season. Coach Franny Rocket says it was a learning experience.
Just maybe a sign of where we're at as a team, and we've coming off the back of 2 really good results, and then you're coming up here. Rovers, are on the crest of a wave at the minute, and a bit of naivety, from set plays. It's been our Achilles heel, and it's a bit massive learning experience for everyone. I'm not going to dwell on this too much, and as hard as I'm after taking it, and the players are after taking it, we bounce back quickly.
Carrick-on-Shore-born Lee Gray scored Shamrock Rovers' 3rd goal. The former Carrick United player spoke to Matt Keane after the game and said he was happy that his friend Sam Bennett won the green jersey in the Tour de France.
So I used to cycle with him when I was a young fella myself, up in the Carrick woods there, and he used to be destroying us, to be fair. But no, delight for him, delight for his family, because he worked so hard for this day. His father said in an interview he gave up the last 10 years of his life to dedicate for this day, so absolutely delighted for him all.
Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says tonight's League Cup clash with Luton will be like a pre-season fixture for some of his players. The Old Trafford boss promises there will be changes from Saturday's defeat to Crystal Palace when they play later. Solskjaer admits his team's preparations for the new season haven't been ideal.
For some, it's they've only been here for a week now, and for different reasons. Some of them need game time. We can see that we're lacking in sharpness, so we just need to make the most of the training sessions and the games that we have.
Tonight's tie between Leyton Orient and Tottenham remains in doubt after the League Two club confirmed a number of first-team players had tested positive for coronavirus. Elsewhere, Watford travel to Newport, West Brom play Brentford at the Hawthorns and West Ham host Hull. Sports news on WLR is thanks to Virgin Media Waterford.